Echem Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamalachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamalachim hakadosh baruch hu. Baruch hu nile shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamalachim hakadosh baruch hu. Seitchem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamalachim hakadosh baruch hu. Now let's turn to page 11, and we will officially start now Kabbalat Shabbat with the opening psalm, Psalm 95. Lechu neranena, please sing along. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria, Naria, Litsuri Shenu, Nekadma Fanav Betoda. Naria, Naria, Litsuri Shenu, Bizmirot Naria Lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. The heavens shall be glad and the earth rejoice, the sea and its fullness roar, the meadows and all that grows in them exult. Even the trees of the forest shall sing praise as Adonai comes to judge the earth, judging lands with righteousness and people with divine truth. Middle of page 14, Yismechu Hashamayim, please join me. Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz. Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz. Yihiram hayam, Yihiram hayam, Yihiram hayam, umlo, Yihiram hayam, Yihiram hayam, Yihiram hayam, umlo, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz. And we will now turn to page 20. We will sing together Romemu at the bottom of the Hebrew section with a little arrow pointing inward. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down at God's holy mountain, for Adonai our God is holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu Lehar Kodesho. And we will now turn the page to page 21, and we'll continue with Psalm 29, Mizmor LeDavid. Please join me, and please rise. Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai Bnei Elim, Havul Adonai Kavod Va'oz, Havul Adonai Kevod Shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai Behadrat Kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover harazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arze halvanon, Vayarkidehem kemo egel Levanon vesirion, kemo ven re'emim. Kol Adonai chotzev lahavotesh, Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar, Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Yechol Elayalot, Vayechesof Yeharot, Uvehechalo Kulo Omer Kavod, Adonai Lamabul Yahashav, Vayeshev Adonai Melech Leolam, Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitain, Adonai Yevarech et Amo Vashalom. You may be seated. We are going to continue now with Lachadodi, starting on page 23. We are going to do the first two stanzas on 23, the middle stanza on 24, and then the final stanza on 25. When we get to that final stanza, we will all rise once again, face the entrance of the sanctuary to welcome the Shabbat bride. And for those who are at home, you would rise and face the entrance of your home. I would like to draw special attention this Shabbat to the first stanza, Shamor v'zachor bedibur echad. And in the English it says, observe and remember were uttered as one. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later this evening as it is relevant to this week's Torah portion. So just keep that in the back of our minds as we sing Lechadodi, pages 23 through 25. Lechadodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor bedibur echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, Ushemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet ve'lithilah. Lechadodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelecha, Ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machashava techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Middle of 24. Hitoreri, Kiva orech umiori, Uri, Uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Bottom of 25, please rise, face the entrance of the sanctuary. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. And you may be seated. Now that we've sung Lecha Dodi, we've officially welcomed Shabbat. We will turn to page 27 and we will recite the psalm for Shabbat, Psalm 92. Please join me, top of the page. Mizmor shir leyom ha-Shabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Mizmor shir leyom ha-Shabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer L'shimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatecha baleilot, alei asor va'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor, mizmor shir leyom ha-Shabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. Please join me in the middle of page 28 as we sing together Tzadikat Hamar. Tzadikat Hamar yiferach, ke'erez balevanon iske, shetulim beveit Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu. Od yenuvun beseva, deshenim vera'ananim yiyu lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri tzuri velo avalat habo. Before we continue with our Mariv service, I would like to just share a few thoughts about this week's Shabbat and this week's Torah portion. This Shabbat is known as Shabbat Nachamu. And the term Nachamu, which means comfort, the verb to comfort or console, comes from the Haftorah that's going to be recited tomorrow morning. And I think, Harvey, you're doing the Haftorah, right? Okay. So, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami is the opening phrase of the Haftorah tomorrow. And what that translates to is, comfort, comfort my people. We call the Shabbat Nachamu because this Haftorah with this phrase falls out on the Shabbat that is immediately after Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av was less than 48 hours ago. And so, as we've gone through this past week, observing Tisha B'Av, the saddest day of the year, we need a little bit of a pick-me-up. So this Shabbat is the first of 7 Shabbats, 7 weeks leading up to Rosh Hashanah, where they are 7 weeks of comfort, 7 weeks of trying to be uplifted, of picking us up and getting us into the mood for the high holidays. In the Torah portion, which is Va'et Hanan this week, there are 2 very well-known sections that we are going to be reading. The first, and this is what I'm going to talk about a little bit more in depth tomorrow morning during our service, is the infamous Shema prayer. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. The prayer that establishes and reestablishes and reaffirms God's oneness. There is one God, and it is only God. The other well-known section we're going to read is the 10 Commandments. And this is where it ties into what I said earlier about Lecha Dodi, to take a look at that first stanza of Lecha Dodi that says, Shamor ve'zachor bedibur echad. The words Shamor, observe, ve'zachor, remember, were uttered or said in one, at the same time, in one utterance. The reason Lecha Dodi makes reference to this is because the 10 Commandments appear twice in the Torah. The first time is during the actual revelation at Mount Sinai, during the actual Passover story, when we, for the first time, received the 10 Commandments from Mount Sinai. And that's in the book of Exodus. When the commandments appear in the book of Exodus, for the commandment that pertains to Shabbat, it uses the word Zachor. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Tomorrow morning, in the book of Deuteronomy, we read the 10 Commandments again, because the book of Deuteronomy is a summary of the entire Torah, basically. And when we read it again, when we get to the commandment of Shabbat, it says, Shamor et Yom HaShabbat. Observe or guard the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Now, of course, there are many different reasons and different commentaries, and there's even books and courses of just focusing on this topic alone, the Shamor versus Zachor, which one was actually uttered and which one was correct and accurate and everything like that. I would refer you back to last week's sermon where I said that there's a difference between historical accuracy and our memory of history. That could be playing a factor here. But Lecha Dodi does a good job at balancing the fact that we have this contradiction, we have this discrepancy in the text. And instead of saying one or both are wrong, we're saying that at least one, if not both, are actually right. We're accepting the fact that Shamor and Zachor were uttered at the same time, and therefore on Shabbat, that's what we actually do. We guard and observe Shabbat, but we also remember Shabbat as well at the same time. With that, let us continue to guard and remember Shabbat, and we will now turn to page 39a for our Mariv service. And I invite everyone to please rise. We'll continue with the Baruch. La 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 da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da da da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da da da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. You may be seated. Please join me as we read together on the English side of 39a, the first bracha, the first blessing of Mariv. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Living and ever-present God, may your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמים לא חלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. We are going to continue with Ahavat Olam on page 40. I'd like to ask Julia to come up because we're going to do the Shema and the Ve'ahavta in a second, so I want you to help us lead that. In a couple of weeks, it'll be Julia's bat mitzvah, which we're going to joyfully celebrate here at Bnai, but let's turn to page 40, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amacha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chokim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shokveinu u'v'kumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla ve'avatecha tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavecha, ubechol nafshecha, ubechol meodecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'elech, asher anochi mitzaveh hayom alevavecha v'shinantam al mezuzot levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha beitecha uvlevtecha b'derech u'shokbecha uvkumecha u'kshatam ledot al yedecha v'hu yitutafot einecha ututam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha.
Yasher Koach, and good job, Julia. We'll continue privately, second and third paragraphs of the Shema, page 42. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Top of page 43a. אמת ואמונה כל זאת וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. God brought Israel from its midst to lasting freedom and led them through the divided water of the Sea of Reeds. As their pursuers and enemies drowned in the depths, God's children beheld the power of the divine. They praised and acknowledged God's name willingly, accepting God's sovereignty. Then Moses, Miriam, and the people of Israel joyfully sang unto you, Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, adorned in holiness, revered in praise, working wonders? Top of page 44. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה, זה לי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Let us turn now to page 45, and we'll continue with Hashkivenu. We will sing the beginning together in Hebrew, and then we'll recite the rest of the prayer in English on the English side. Page 45, please join me. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeitenu uvo'enu lechaim ulshalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. Uferos aleinu sukat shelomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al chol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Please rise for Vishamru and Chatzi Kadesh, top of page 46. V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכם וביומכם ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמא ואמרו Amen. And we will continue with the silent Amida that begins on page 47 and concludes on page 52. Ose shalom, shalom b'meromav, hu yaseh shalom. Ose shalom, shalom b'meromav, hu yaseh shalom. hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom. If you are still reciting the Amidah, please continue. We are going to switch moods for a moment, and we are going to pray for those who are ill and who are in need of healing. If you have a name of someone, a friend, a family member, a loved one who is in need of healing this week, please go ahead and remain standing in your place. And after I read the list, then go around the room and you can go ahead and say the name out loud. If anybody has a name who is online you would like to add this evening, please go ahead and unmute, and then we'll be able to add the name at that time. Mi shebeirach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Chava Sarah bat Basha, Esther Neshama bat Sarah, Yehudit bat Kalman, Rachel bat Esther, Chaim ben Pesach, Harvey Ruskin, Diane Shotaro, Alan Shotaro, Larry Levy, Rachel Langer, Beth Stewart, Jack Azuz, David ben Razel, Mirit bat Miriam, Aharon ben Chaya Golda, Tal ben Sarah, Shoshana bat Yochevet, Ilya Yisrael, Richter ben Rachel, Chaviva Eliana bat Sarah, Al Montano, Sandra Kite, Healy Solomon, Kathy Brown, Gary Guto, Harriet Feinberg, Arnie Tenenbaum, Brandon Simpson, Ira Robinson, Andrea Kotke, Jennifer Brown, Lerner, and Eva Curis. Is there anybody online who would like to add a name? Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. May they all find the healing that they so need and so deserve. We'll continue with full Kaddish, middle of page 54. Yitkadal v'yitkadash me rabba, be'alma divara kirute ve'amlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chayi l'chol beit Israel, b'agalau v'zman kari ve'imeru, Amen. Yehi shemei rabba mevarach, le'alam le'al me'al maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush berchata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma ve'imeru, Amen. Titkabal tzalot ahon v'atahon d'chol Yisrael, kodam v'ahon divishmaya ve'imeru, Amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shamaya, b'chayim alinu ve'al chol Yisrael ve'imeru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, alinu ve'al chol Yisrael ve'imeru, Amen. We will now turn to page 55. We are going to continue with the Shabbat evening Kiddush. I invite everyone to please rise. If anyone is interested, we do have cups here with grape juice for those that would like Kiddush this evening. And for those who are online, if you have wine or grape juice at home, please go ahead and get that ready now. In a few moments, we will continue with the Kiddush. Page 55. Savarim Adonai v'Rabbanan v'Rabotai, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinechilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, Hinachaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. We will continue with Aleinu, page 56. Aleinu leshabeach Adon HaKol, Latet gedula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim. Lifnei melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noteh shamayim veyoser haaretz umoshav yikaro bashamayim ima'al ushechina tuzo begov hei meromim hu Eloheinu einod Emet malkeinu efesulato, kakatuv betorato, ve'adata hayom ve'hashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, bashamayim mima'al, ve'al ha'aretz mitachat, Einod, al ken Kabbalat Adonai Eloheinu. Kakatuv betoratecha Adonai imloch leolam vaed, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. At this time, we will remember those in our community who are no longer with us. This Shabbat, we remember Leo Berman, Sam Chernoff, Simon Spiegelman, Ray Rosenblum, Melvin Klosky, Rhoda London, Mark Eagleman, Deanna Pophauser, and Beverly Engel. And if there's anyone else you are remembering this evening, please take a moment to remember them in your mind and in your heart, and may their memory be for goodness and for blessing. We'll continue with Mourner's Kaddish, page 58. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divarach hirute ve'amlich malchute, Bechayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Israel, Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen, Yehe Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam alalme almaya, Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitramam ve'yitmaseh, ve'yithadar ve'yitale ve'yithalal, Shemei Kudesha barichu, Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehe shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. You may be seated. In a few moments, we are going to conclude our service with Adon Olam, but before then, do we have any announcements? Yep.
We're looking forward with great anticipation to the Bas Mitzvah of Julia Kashkin on August 11th and 12th. And if you have not yet purchased your honey supplies for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, for Rosh Hashanah, and made arrangements with your friends to have them receive it, and I'm sure they'll be very grateful for getting that in the mail. Please do so. The time is running out, and you can do that by going to the website or to the e-blast or to the shofar or see someone from the sisterhood, and you can very easily take care of that arrangements. And we'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 for our morning service. Good Shabbos.
Okay, thank you, Harvey. We will conclude now with Adon Olam, page 211. Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yitzir nivra le'etan na'asa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yihye betifara ve'hu yihye betifara ve'hu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshil lo lehachbira beli reshit beli tachlit ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra ve'hu eli ve'chai goali ve'tzur chevli be'et tzara ve'hu nisi umanos li menat kosi beyom mekra menat kosi beyom mekra beyado avki druchi be'et ishan ve'aira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li ve'lo ira Adonai li ve'lo ira. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Please join us again tomorrow morning at 9:30. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. What's that?
How was Tisha B'Av service?
It went fine, yeah.
Good. Did you get a crowd?
We had, I'm trying to remember, I think we had exactly 10 or 11 Wednesday night. But that's better than not having a minyan. And we also had about 10 or 11 in the morning too.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. And Rabbi,
Unusual show up?
it was the usuals that showed up. Yeah, and Rabbi Flicker had prepared like a little mini Tisha B'Av thing that he didn't really tell me about, which is okay. I just went ahead and let him do it, you know.